This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and review. What I'm looking at today is 1988's Poltergeist III, and this is a white whale of a movie, which is to say, it's one of those films you watch, I should say one of the films I've watched, where I can see how it could be so much better than it is. As it stands, it's not a great movie, but the potential for it to be great is so evident to me that I love this movie. By my reckoning, one of the better trilogies out there, bar none. It was directed by Gary Sherman, who did the excellent Dead and Buried. So my hopes were really high that this would be great. And I've been thinking about this a while, by the way, because I've seen this movie numerous times. Recently just watched it last night. And if you're not familiar with the story, it revolves around Carol Ann, her mother's sister, played by Nancy Allen. Mary Beth Williams played the mother from the first two Poltergeist films. And she's living with their family. Kane, from the second movie, has now followed Carol Ann. And so it's very much a Poltergeist movie. And it does so much, so well. The special effects are all practical and all interesting. Some look better than others, to be sure, but it's just fascinating to watch. The depiction of the other side, unlike the first two Poltergeist movies, is one of cold, one of desolation. And oddly enough, that fits, especially when you take into account that Kane has become the beast. And it's explainable to me in that Kane's personality now dominates the evil. So he is almost like an infection, and it is spread to that whole realm. So it's now cold. So it's an interesting idea, unlike the first two movies, but once again, the way I see it, works really well. It's just so excellently realized. Though those great special effects are done a disservice by cinematography, because Poltergeist 3 looks small, as in small budgeted. Once again, I mentioned those innovative effects, so that's not in and of itself a bad thing. But the cinematography could have made this movie look bigger and grander than it is. As it stands, it's well shot, to be sure, but it also looks like a television movie, not a feature film. Budget will affect how a movie looks, no doubt. But just because your budget isn't high doesn't mean you can't hire a cinematographer to do certain things. So I just think this was an oversight on Gary Sherman's part. Gary Sherman co-wrote this movie with two other people, and this is one of the greatest problems of Poltergeist 3. The writing to me sounds very much stagnant. It rings like tin on the ear. Characters say and act in ways that normal people probably wouldn't, and a lot of the acting is not great. It's not terrible by any stretch, but it's not great either. And combined with that dialogue, most people don't make it out too well. Tom Skerritt does, as Nancy Allen's husband, but he just seems to be having a ball. He's having a good time. He has a smile and an energy that feel infectious and very much real. I don't think the man was acting. I just think he may have been just collecting a check, but that's literally what a job is. So there's no sin in that. So Nancy Allen, she does okay with the material. Though the writing doesn't work for her character. Her character seems to hate Carol Ann with a passion which is beyond reason, considering that the movie doesn't give us any justification for it. She just does not like this kid. It's really weird. And I'm not saying that she couldn't hate her. I'm just saying for the story to justify the hatred. It's a movie. You can't hate her just because. It has to justify the actions of the character. And the movie really doesn't, which is strange. And Carol Ann has to deal with the same thing. When her character talks, for the most part, it doesn't sound like a child. It's really odd, and it just undermines the atmosphere of the film, which is very atmospheric. It just doesn't work though, because it doesn't, as I said, feel like a child talking. It more sounds like three older white dudes trying to talk like a child would talk. It doesn't work for the movie. And the actress that played Carol Ann, I think, died soon after this movie. So that this movie didn't do well is almost to be expected. But there's so much promise in it. Oh, and I should mention, the worst character in the movie, Dr. Seaton, played by Richard Pryor. He's so bizarre, and the things he says are just so stupid that anyone would listen to it is just weird to me. Now keep in mind something, by my reckoning, characters in movies can do and say stupid things, but I take issue when people pretend not to have heard the stupid thing. And Dr. Seaton has this theory that everything that happened to Carol Ann was due to mass hypnosis. Namely, she hypnotized people to believe their house was devoured and ripped from this earth, and there were ghosts and vanishing into the ceiling, and so on and so forth. This is dumb. That his character would even say these things is bad enough. That people would entertain it is worse. It was just a strange character. And never mind he was badly written, he was not well cast. And that's not to say that Richard Fine was a bad actor, because he wasn't. But not every role is made for every person. And this role, I don't think, was made for him. He comes off very petty, weird, just strange. And it brings the movie down quite a bit. And I mentioned Nancy Allen's character earlier. And her irrational hatred for Carol Ann. So much so, when shit starts to hit the fan, she's ready to abandon this child. Conversely, Tom Skerritt shows signs of irritation at what she says, but not nearly enough. Once again, this is a child. And whatever happened in her life, how they could say that she caused it is just weird. Now, keep in mind something though. I'm not saying that the movie shouldn't have blamed her. Or I should say, people in the movie blamed her for what happened. What I'm saying is, the movie has to give us justification for things. It just does things that make no sense, and as if in the doing, therein lies the truth of a thing. That's not true. This makes no sense anywhere on any planet. The movie just didn't deem it necessary to explain it. And so it brings down the entire film. And speaking of movies, remember, there was a reboot of Poltergeist, the first one. Why would you remake that movie? That movie is awesome. Don't remake it. Remake Poltergeist 2? Maybe. Remake Poltergeist 3? Definitely. This movie deserves a remake so bad because there's such a good movie waiting to come out. All it needs is a cinematographer to give the movie a bigger, bolder look to it. All it needs is a few rewrites. All it needs is casting that's really strong. Well, that's probably what any movie needs, frankly. So those things would make this movie brilliant. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. If you agree, disagree, let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like, follow, or buy me a coffee.